Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, April 8th, and this is virtual lunch number 536. Our guest today is Cole Morgan, the Senior Director of Legal Operations Consulting at Hyperion Global Partners, an Epiq company. And this is part of our continuing April series on metrics and successful transformation with Epiq. Hi, Cole. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, Ari.
I'm so excited to have this conversation. So tell us about your background and your role at Hyperion Global Partners.
So I have been in legal operations since legal operations was not a term. I got into the space in specifically 1998. Back then in what was the Big Six is now the Big Four. I've done a couple of startups in the space. Started an e-billing company, was an early employee of DataCert. I went into LyondellBasell during that bankruptcy. At the time, it was the number 10 bankruptcy in U.S. history. My role was to reorganize the law department with the general counsel, and then went on again, did another tech startup. And now I have joined forces with Eyal and team here, and we're building a practice inside of Epiq that is really geared towards helping modernize the global law department, right? So to really bring the best practices that we have learned over the decades that we've been practicing in this space to bear for our clients. If there was a thing in a large law department that was called operations or the non-practice of law functioning management of the department, it was back then largely administrative. Now it has become much, much more executive. In these modern times, what we've got is real attention being paid by general counsel to the need for someone on parallel with, say, the deputy general counsel, associate general counsel in this legal ops function, that it's really being given its due. The context was pretty unique, right? I mean, for me, this was a bankruptcy turnaround, right? So this was two companies that had come together in a consummation that had not really been reconciled. And so when I came in, we had to deduplicate the law department. So that was pretty unique. It was hard. It's part of what I signed up for. But I would say that's different than would be the norm going into a law department today. Where you were going is what would be the mandate of a legal ops leader going into a role like that today. A lot of it has to do with organizational alignment, budget justification, figuring out how we metric, meaning how do we benchmark ourselves relative to our peers being defined as relative revenue generators, relative competitors in the specific market we're in or whatever. But being able to take the law department and demonstrate it within the organization as a competitive entity, much like any of the other businesses that might justify themselves. Transformation is this word that has become so perhaps overused in our space, right? And maybe in the tech space in general. But for me, transformation signifies when a business wants to do something significantly better than it does today. And so transformation means in my today role, right? So the way I serve clients is getting to know the way that the client understands their current business. And then what do you want to do better? Much like a trainer or something, right? What do you want to do? You want to get faster in your 40-yard dash? Do you want to get your bench press better? What is the thing you want to improve as a primary measure? And then setting in place some measurable goals that demonstrate you're doing what you want to do. The concept of transformation signifies that every business in the world is in need of a complete and total makeover. I don't think is the case. A lot of clients that I find come to me with really operational law departments, really operational functions. They just want to get a little bit better, and figuring out where they want to get better and how to measure whether or not they're getting better in that regard is kind of the key. The thing I dislike about the term transformation is it connotes a brokenness. I don't like the idea that in order to embark upon some transformation within your department or whatever your endeavor is, has to come with the acknowledgement that you're somehow fundamentally broken. Doesn't mean you're broken. It just means that you can improve upon where you are. In a law department, your ELM system, as it's now known today, is your backbone, right? So it's the thing that's in the background. A best practice for me is knowing what is a matter to you in your organization, right? Defining what is it? Is it 8 hours of work? Is it because we had to hire outside counsel? What is the thing that makes me create a matter in this ELM system? And having that be a consistent thing. And then having that consistent thing feed a reporting engine that goes back into leadership within the law department. The other is obviously having your financials integrated in with said matter reporting system in your law department, right? E-billing is pretty much a best practice. I'd like to think that I helped create the space back in the 90s, but as it is today, there's really not a reason not to have the predominance of your law department spend flowing through electronically. And then I won't say it's a best practice yet, but I'd say there are some much more modern technologies that are interesting, right? AI can play a role in voice review. AI can play a role in matter creation, can play a role in contract review, things like that. Those are worth experimenting with. I wouldn't call them elevated to the place of a best practice yet. To me, a best practice is also trying new technologies, trying to be forward thinking in your application of them, not just using what is tried and true. And so I like the idea of continuing to keep your hand on the lever of what's new as a function of yet a different best practice. A lot of resistance to change is not people being bad actors. It's people being subject to the motives to which they are. Everybody's got a boss. Everybody's got a comp structure. Everybody's got a position in the organization they want to defend. And so understanding that broader context is really the biggest part of understanding change management. And it's not meant to be manipulative of human nature. It's meant to be understanding of human nature. It's the old statement, right? FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They exist because they're motivating to humans. Fear is a motivator, sure. Is it the best motivator? Not really. I can acknowledge that it is one, it is a thing, but is it the way that I like to wake people out of their sleep or get people out of bed in the morning? Not really. I like to lead with the positives and lead with the things that we can help an organization do better. Again, that incremental improvement, that you're not broken, you can be better without acknowledging that you're fundamentally flawed. But fear exists for a reason. It's not where I prefer to lead. I am happy to help try and guide people from that place. But is it a thing that I try and use? No. I'd love to see a world where we return back to the year that was 2019, if we could, right? Where we got back into the office and we saw each other. And for me personally, I really liked that way of working. But I understand that what we've done is we've now created an entire generation of people that don't want to work that way anymore. So now we have to figure out how do people who are old like me, who want to go back to the office, right? Who want to get back into the 2018-19 way of working, work with the crowd that is now not at my age of maturation and wants to work in a fundamentally different way. And how do we all work together? How do we all get along? I'm hopeful that technology is going to be the bridge to that gap. Things like this help bring us together. There's a lot of other opportunity for technology. Finding those technologies that help us bridge the gap between the way that we used to be and the way that we really are right now are going to be a big deal, I think.
Cole Morgan, everybody. Wonderful, wonderful discussion. Thanks to you, Cole. Thanks, of course, to Epiq for supporting this series on metrics and successful transformation. I hope that everyone has a great weekend.